real talk for a second. Just because your offer gets accepted, it does not mean it's a done deal. I've seen transactions feel completely solid and then fall apart out of nowhere. And most of the time, it's not one big dramatic issue. It usually comes down to smaller things people didn't even realize could affect the deal. So if you're buying or selling, I want to walk you through what actually causes deals to fall apart. This is the side of real estate that no one really talks about until you're already in the middle of it. And if you understand this upfront, it can save you a lot of stress. Hey everyone, it's Shelby, also known as Sheebs, with the Peterson & Co. real estate team at Keller Williams in Otsego. I work primarily in the northwest metro of the Twin Cities, including areas like Maple Grove, Otsego, Elk River, Monticello, St. Michael, Buffalo, and all their surrounding communities. A lot of deals start to run into issues during the inspection. This is where things can feel overwhelming for buyers, right? You finally get an accepted offer, and you're very excited, and then the inspection report comes back with a long list of items. And suddenly, it feels like something is wrong with the house, but the reality is, even well-maintained homes are going to have things that come up. It could be an older water heater, a minor electrical issue, or something small that just isn't up to current standards. That does not mean it's a bad home. Where deals start to fall apart is how people will react to the report. If a buyer expects everything to be fixed, or a seller feels like every request is a personal attack, it creates tension really quickly. The inspection is there to help you understand what you're buying, not to turn it into a full repair list. The focus should be on the bigger items such as safety concerns, major systems, or anything unexpected. When both sides stay focused there, things usually will move forward. But when expectations aren't aligned, that's when deals start to break down. And then once you move past that stage, the next area that can quietly cause issues is financing. This is something I always explain early because it catches a lot of people off guard. When you get pre-approved, you're not fully done. Your lender is continuing to verify everything all the way up until closing. So once you're under contract, the best thing you can do is to keep everything consistent. This is not the time to go make big financial moves. Don't go buy a car, don't open new credit cards, don't finance furniture, and don't move money around. Don't change jobs, and even small things, something that might not impact your loan, it really can, right? You have your credit, your debt, and your cash to close. That all will matter throughout start to finish. The easiest way to think about it is this: to stay financially steady until you close. And one thing I always tell my clients, if you're thinking about making a big financial move, please talk to your lender first. Even if it feels harmless, there's usually a better way to go about it, and that quick conversation can save you from accidentally putting your deal at risk. Also, if your lender asks for documents, send them over right away. That's part of keeping everything moving smoothly. All right, now assuming everything stays on track there, the next step where deals can run into issues is the appraisal. This is where buyers sometimes get a little bit surprised. In your mind, you agree on a price, so that's what the home is going to be worth. But the lender looks at it a little bit differently. They base the loan on the appraised value. So if your offer is at $400,000 and it comes in at $390,000, now there's a gap. At that point, something has to be worked out. The buyer may need to bring in additional cash, the seller may need to adjust the price, or both sides meet somewhere in the middle. If an agreement can't be reached, the deal can fall apart. That's why this conversation needs to happen before writing the offer, not after. And right around the same time, this is where communication becomes extremely important. But honestly, that doesn't just start during the transaction. It should start before the offer is even written. Before submitting an offer, there should be a conversation with the listing agent. This is where you learn what matters most to the seller. Maybe it's the closing date. Maybe it's flexibility. Or maybe it's other terms over just the highest price. And this is also where you position your offer. You can highlight your buyer's strengths, understand the situation better, and put together something that actually aligns with what the seller is looking for. Even in competitive markets, that conversation can make a difference because at the end of the day, no one likes getting an offer out of nowhere with no context, and no one likes working with an agent who doesn't communicate. And then once you're under contract, communication becomes even more important. Now you have multiple people involved all at once. You have the lender, the title company, both agents, and both parties are all working through details at the same time. If communication drops at any point, things can get confusing quickly. Maybe someone doesn't respond, maybe expectations weren't clearly explained, maybe an issue wasn't brought up early enough, and people start filling in the gaps on their own. The buyer gets nervous, the seller gets frustrated, and everything conflict starts to feel more complicated than it actually is. Most situations can be worked through, but only if they're communicated early and clearly. And honestly, even when communication is good, this is usually where emotions start to come into play. On the seller's side, this is something people don't always expect. They accept an offer, everything looks good, and then it starts to feel real. They're actually leaving their home. That's when emotions can kick in. They might second guess the price, they might feel frustrated during negotiations, they might feel overwhelmed with the whole entire process and everything happening at once. Even if they continue forward, mentally they can start pulling back, and that makes the process feel harder than it needs to be. And at the same time, buyers are going through their own version of that. Buying a home is emotional, and it should be. But when emotions fully take over, it can lead to decisions that don't always make sense long term. Sometimes buyers fall in love with the home and overlook important details. Sometimes they panic in a competitive situation and stretch beyond what they're comfortable with. Other times they get nervous, especially after an inspection, and walk away for something that could have been worked out, or they overthink everything and miss good opportunities. The goal isn't to remove the emotion, it's to balance it with good information. The buyers who tend to have the smoothest experience are the ones who understand their numbers, know their priorities, and take the time to think things through before making that decision. So, when you look at the full picture, the most common things that cause deals to fall apart are inspections, financing issues, appraisal gaps, communication breakdowns, and emotional decision-making on both sides. Not every deal can or should be saved. Sometimes walking away is the right choice, but a lot of deals fall apart simply because people didn't know what to expect going in. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, the best thing you can do is get ahead of the process, ask questions early, and understand how each step works, and make sure you're working with people who guide you through it. It makes a huge difference, especially from start to finish, and you're going to be successful.